Welcome to the High Income Business Writing Podcast, helping you propel your writing business to a whole new level. And now, here's your host, Ed Gandia.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the High Income Business Writing Podcast, the number one podcast for business writers and copywriters who want to earn more in less time doing work they love for better clients. With well over 1 million downloads from listeners just like you, across 101 countries. Throughout modern history, conversation has been at the heart of human progress. The art of having good conversation is something most people valued. Now, coming from a Hispanic family, conversation was always at the heart of most of what we did growing up. We're talking deep, lively, funny conversations at every family gathering about anything under the sun, including politics, religion, current events, and what's happening in our life. But it seems like over the past 20 years or so, more and more people just simply aren't valuing the skill of good conversation like they used to. And that's too bad, because the ability to engage in and lead good conversations is a critical business and life skill. My guest today is an expert in this topic. Her name is Patti DeNucci, and she's the author of the excellent book, The Intentional Networker, and the upcoming book, More Than Just Talk, the essential guide for anyone who wants to enjoy better conversations. I've known Patti for over 10 years. She's a great lady, wicked smart, and as you'll quickly see, she's an excellent conversationalist and a true pro on this topic. In this chat, we dive into how you can become better at conversation regardless whether you're introverted, shy, we're not really fond of talking to people you don't know. And that's the key thing, is this is very little, if anything, to do with personality and a heck of a lot more to do with knowing how to do this well. This is a skill that anyone can develop with the right strategies, techniques, and practice, many of which we talk about in this conversation. Not only is this going to help you in your business, but also in your personal life. So with that, I hope you enjoy our conversation. Patti, great to have you here. Welcome.
Thanks, Ed. Great to be with you too.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've talked, and
Yes.
I feel like we're just going to pick up where we left off.
Always. It's so easy with you. I love it. Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, I want to talk with you today about conversations, the art of conversation. You know, it seems to me, and we can go down several different directions with this, but this is hugely important, I feel, for self-employed professionals to be able to get better at and manage well. And I feel like the art of conversation is something that people used to really value a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they wanted to learn, get better at this. And I don't know, it just seems like that's changed over the past, 20 years. Do you feel the same way, or is that just my perception?
No, it's really been, people say, well, it's the pandemic, but this has been going on from way before the pandemic. There are all kinds of experts out there that have been very concerned about, especially here in America, for some reason. We just love our rugged individualism. We are living in a time when we can live alone. We have access to social media, streaming anything that you want to watch. And, not to mention, we could go into the whole how polarized we are politically, or think we are polarized politically, and how everybody has a megaphone now. And so I think people either have become more, I'm not going to say they've become introverted, because that never happens. Either you're introverted or you're extroverted or ambiverted or whatever. But I think when conversation becomes awkward or unpleasant or contentious or stressful in any way, and sometimes we have that made up in our minds that all conversations will be like that, we don't want to have them. And a big thing I tell people, and this is just the first little tip I'll give you, and then of course we can flow on into all kinds of things, is I look at it, there's a term called assuming positive rapport. I think a huge thing is we're afraid we're going to be rejected, or we're afraid it's going to be unpleasant. And if you can assume positive rapport, which means there's a really good chance the other person's going to like you, and it's going to be a pleasant conversation. If you can go in with a positive attitude, that is probably one of the number one things that we can change. And that's not easy.
That is
but
interesting.
But there's so much to it.
And it's so true because I've been so pleasantly surprised many times when I dread going into a situation, I don't know, a party or a get together or, a meeting with a client. And I just assume that things are just not going to go well,
Yeah.
that it's
We're
going to be
nervous.
adversarial or, it's going to be
Yeah.
awkward. And yeah,
And
it's true.
and how does it feel to be around someone who is already feeling like it's going to be awkward? You can sense their feelings of awkwardness and
Yeah.
it makes it more awkward. So I don't know. I think that's something we're all getting used to again. Now, the pandemic did impact us in that. And I've talked to people at all kinds of gatherings here in the past 6 months or a year. People are admitting, like, this feels funny. I'm going to need to work at this like, all over again. So everybody's in the same boat, I think.
Yeah.
It's normal. I don't want to ever say, oh, because if you're having a hard time with conversation, you're a bad person. You're not. It's normal, but it's something we have to work at for sure.
And it's true. I do agree that this was happening way before the pandemic. The pandemic just kind of exacerbated the
Yeah.
situation further. I'm hearing a lot of people, and more and more I'm hearing this, where people are saying they're using this excuse of their personality,
Mm-hmm.
as a crutch. Well, that's just not for me because I'm an introvert. Or
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with a coaching client this afternoon about, look, you got to talk to your client about money, about payment. Like, this is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. And we
Mm-hmm.
started talking and she's taking notes and it's making sense to her until she perked up and suddenly said, wait a minute, I just realized something. Are you telling me I need to have this as a conversation over Zoom? The whole time she thought we were talking about email.
Or hypothetical.
Yeah, hypothetical,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
but I'm hearing a lot of people use the whole personality thing as a crutch. It's not me. I'm not good at that. That's not who I am. And we've all seemed to have been given an out for so many
Yeah.
things, including
Well,
this. Could you speak to that? Are you
oh
seeing that as well?
man, can I ever? And it's so interesting. I learned a lot when I was writing The Intentional Networker and in speaking and preparing workshops. And, I've been doing research, well, very intensively for the last 15 years, probably all my life, really. But I've done even more research. I've learned even more, which has been just fascinating. And here's the thing about social personality. There's the introverts who are energized by solitude, the extroverts who are energized by socializing, being with people, speaking out loud, thinking, the chatty ones who just love people. And then there's those of us like me, I'm right in the middle. I am a right down the middle ambivert. Many people haven't heard that term before, ambivert, which means sometimes I really like my alone time when I can work and be creative and just relax. And then I love to be out and about with people doing what we're doing now. I absolutely love it. And then it's like, yeah, time to go back. And so I vacillate and I have to pay attention to that vacillation. When is it time to go back into the other realm? Now, on top of that, there's also shyness. Shyness is something I don't know enough about where shyness comes from, but I will tell you this, once you're an introvert, you're always an introvert, whatever your social personality is. And you can find that out by taking the Myers-Briggs, or there's some quickie tests you can take online to get a glimpse of it. But shyness can be overcome. It's something you have to practice. It's like being terrible at push-ups, which that would be me. You have to really work at push-ups to get good at that. And so practice and reading about it and talking to people and getting coaching like from people like you. So, and you talked about this client of yours needing to have a conversation about money. I had a difficult conversation that I had to have. I'd given a presentation and there's always that one person who fills out the survey that says something really ugly that I felt like was unfair and I didn't deserve. And so I was composing a long email to my client, who was the event producer. And I finally, writing the email helped me organize my thoughts. But then, I thought, darn it, I'm picking up the phone. We're just going to talk about this. I tell you what, within 30 seconds, he already was saying, Patti, we know you. We've hired you before. We know this person. We know exactly who this person is. They complain about everything. That's the kind of stuff they say. Rip it up, throw it away. It was for nothing. And it was just easier to have had the conversation. And I felt better. And it wasn't a back and forth thing where he wasn't sure what my tone was. And I wasn't sure what his tone was. It was wonderful. So
So
yeah,
much more productive
pick
to
up the
just,
phone. It's harder for people to ignore you when you have called them.
is the phone that thing that's got all the pad with all the numbers? Is that
Mm-hmm.
okay?
The phone or Zoom or whatever. Zoom
No,
is, I was not a Zoom fan at first, and I'm getting
I
I'm
wasn't
getting to
either.
like it because I get to see you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting distinction because I do hear people use shy and introverted interchangeably, and you
Yeah.
just made a very
They're
clear
different.
distinction.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. One you're born with, and
Yeah.
that's just who you
That's
are.
just you.
But the other one you could work on, and there you
Yeah.
could be a
Yeah.
non-shy introvert,
Yes.
right?
And just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you can't socialize. Your battery is getting charged by solitude.
Totally.
And so make sure you get enough. Like if you're an introvert, don't overbook yourself. Don't go to a conference and try to go from the minute the breakfast networking starts to the very last drink is being served in the bar. I mean, I can't do that. You pace yourself and you think, okay, I have to go back to my room, or I need to go home now, or I'll do an hour at this networking event and then I'm going home and watching Downton Abbey or whatever your favorite series is. You have to take care of yourself and honor how it works. And I will also say extroverts need to be aware that they can go forever. They're like the marathon runners, and not all of us can do that. So we can't keep up. So no, that we can't keep up. Don't make us keep up.
I first heard that term ambivert from you years ago when I interviewed you for something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is me. I didn't know that there was a middle ground because I've taken all the tests and I've just checked with myself a million times, and I am totally in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. So I lead a workshop with some of my coaching clients twice a year, and once in the spring, once in the fall. We just completed recently one of them, and I love the energy, being there, all of us together. We're having great discussions. But you know what I do for lunch? We got an hour and a half for lunch. I go to my room.
I'm going to say, do you hide in the bathroom? There's some very famous speakers and, thought leaders that go hide somewhere because, and I don't know, do you find it it sounds like you find it super stimulating?
Super stimulating, I find it really, I need that break.
I can feel it.
I can't go to lunch with anybody. No, there's no way. That's a continuation. I don't get a break. So I will go to my room and I'll either bring some food, with me, or I will order DoorDash and have it and just eat it in my room because I just can't. I know that about me. So you're right. I fluctuate back and forth.
Yeah.
But that's really important. And, you are who you are.
We are
who we are. At the end of the day, you got to monitor your energy.
Yeah. And you can pretend to be somebody else and it won't work. It'll make you sick.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So let's talk about some conversations, and I'd like to get a little tactical with some of these because I'd love to get some.
Sure.
I know you got some great tips. Here's one. We've all been in a conversation that is just not going all that well, either because you feel it's just awkward, or maybe you feel like they're being a little aggressive and asking too much of you completely unexpectedly. So and I know I just gave you 2 or 3 different examples, but what do we do? How do we kind of turn things around in a way that's going to make the conversation more productive? Or how do we end the conversation?
Well, there's all of those things. So I will say that any conversation, and you described a couple of specific scenarios, but we could say any conversation that you're not finding it doesn't seem like it's mutually interesting or productive. And granted, this may be different from a client conversation. Let's talk about social conversations.
Like let's start with that one.
Let's start with that one.
We should go through specific examples. Yeah.
So let's say you're at a networking event, and networking, people don't like the term. I don't know, any place where you're going to be social, because I think networking happens everywhere. It happens at the gym. It happens when you're out walking the dog. It happens everywhere. But let's say you're at a specific professional event and you're having a conversation with somebody and they're either just talking too much, or you don't like the energy. You can't really get the flow going. You can't get a good mutually interesting conversation going. You can sit there for a while and be polite. And then at some point you can say, you know what, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Those are the 3 words. Please forgive me. Oh, I see my friend over there. I promised her I would go say hi. So I'm going to say, it's nice to meet you. And I'm going to do the mix and mingle thing. And you just say it. Let's say you want to keep talking. Let's say you have a reason that you do want to keep talking to this person, but the topic has gone, let's say you've gone off on some sad news story or some sort of political thing that is just like, hey, we didn't want to go there. You can manage the conversation and shift the conversation by saying, hey, let's talk about something else for just a minute. I was wondering, and you can do it in a smooth way, but you can say, I'd really rather not talk about that right now. I would really like to ask you about You are
Okay.
perfectly within your bounds to shift a conversation if the topic is not the topic you want to be talking about. Now, keeping a feeling of grace and kindness and politeness is good, but you do not have to be a doormat. I think people go into conversations and they feel like they have no control whatsoever, or they're being a rude, bad person. I would tell you if there's a rude person, it's a rude person that doesn't stop talking or gets off on a topic that is totally inappropriate or doesn't let you participate in the conversation and managing it. So there's a whole spectrum of you can avoid people. Trust me, there are people I avoid. I see out and about. I know what it's going to be like. I may say, "Hey, Bob, how are you doing? Great to see you," and scuttle off in another direction. You can approach and get the conversation started and then direct it. Like my hairdresser told me just last week, he said, "You don't know this, but I manage these conversations that we have." And he's delightful. It's like, really? I kind of feel like, really, they're not just naturally awesome. He goes, no, I've been doing this for years. I know how to guide the conversation. And then there are some where you just flat out have to say, please forgive me, leave. Or if someone's being abusive or inappropriate, offensive anyway, you can just walk away, just escape with your life. It is totally acceptable.
Well, let me give you one that I'm going to try to think of a couple that I know come up a lot.
Yeah, that's in social setting. I mean, when I go to a party or a social thing, I move around unless I'm in some sort of really engaging exchange with somebody. It is actually the right thing to do, to mingle around. So you come up with some scenarios that...
No, and that's a really important one. I was just in one 2 weeks ago where I thought, oh my gosh, I'm done talking with this guy, but I need an out. So that's brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Please forgive me.
Please forgive me. I love that. That's easy because it's 3 words. What were the 3 words? Please forgive me.
Yeah.
So one with, let's say, clients.
Mm-hmm.
You go into a conversation and you feel it's not abusive, but you were not expecting this negative conversation, right? Negative feedback, or, something happened that you didn't know about. And suddenly, in other words, you're being unloaded new information that you weren't expecting. It's hard to process.
Yeah.
And you feel stuck. That's a difficult situation.
That is really difficult. Well, I don't know if I'm really the expert on the difficult conversation thing, but I've certainly had difficult conversations or when something came up. And I think sometimes we have to just be honest and say, wow, I was not expecting this. You may need to say, tell me more about what you want to say to me and what I need to know about this. And you may have to say, look, I'm not sure how to process this yet. I need to have some time to think about it. I think you can always ask for time to think about something.
Yeah.
Even in some of these very lively conversations, that people have about all kinds of topics and policies and a good friend of mine, in fact, she's the one my new book is dedicated to, Jen B. King. She said that when anybody backs her into a corner, like, well, what do you think about this? And if she's not ready to answer, she'll just say, I'm not ready to answer that. I need some time to think about this. How awesome for someone to say that honestly and say, I need some time, than to spout something, that's totally unthought through.
Yeah, it might be unfair to you, or
it's unfair, or you're saying something
reactionary.
It's reactionary. It might be unprofessional. Those are really difficult, but I've had definitely client conversations over the years that have blindsided me. And, sometimes I've reacted very well. Sometimes, I got defensive. That wasn't appropriate. Or sometimes I did say, like in the call I mentioned earlier in this conversation where I knew this person, I love feedback. Feedback is how we grow, even the negative stuff. But this person said something that I thought was totally unfair. It was mean. It was damaging. And I knew that it wasn't true. And so that was why I called and said, I feel like this wasn't unfair. In fact, I worked really hard to not be that way, the way that she described me. And anyway, I defended myself because in that case, I felt I was being slandered, I guess. And so I stood up for myself. Yeah. It's okay to stand up for yourself. But I think it's, being gracious and kind and, well, not necessarily, sometimes being kind is just not the right thing, but professional. You have a right to say, I'm not really ready to discuss this yet, or I'm going to need more information from you before I know what to even do to fix it or to do it differently.
I think that is huge right there, because we have been conditioned somehow to think that we have to provide answers and agreement
Mm-hmm.
when we're not ready to do so.
Right. And we're also in a world where people think it's okay to just attack and to be mean and bullying. I'm writing a speech right now for a group of city leaders, and I'm trying to be very tactful in how I'm telling them that they all need to be more tactful. They're leaders. They need to, practice civility, practice courteousness, practice listening, practice being curious, find out what's on people's minds. We have so many bad examples out there in the media, and they're not only impacting us, they're impacting our kids.
Yeah.
The kids think that's normal, that's how you deal with people, and it's not true.
One of the things you talk about, and I love this, is being able to have conversations, getting to a place where you can have conversations with authenticity, ease, and confidence. To me, when I read that, I'm like, oh my God, that is a trifecta right there.
I know. I want that.
I want that. I want that. So I know that, there's no easy hack for that, but what are some easy things people can do to start moving in that direction? You mentioned curiosity.
Yeah.
If you don't feel you're a naturally curious person, what are ways because I know that's a great way to spark conversation and to really give it life.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. And then I want to go back to what is it? Authenticity, ease, and confidence.
Yep.
I think that's the order I put them in. So yes, curiosity. Curiosity, what did Dale Carnegie say? The bit about, you can make more friends in 2 months by being interested in other people than trying to make them interested in you. And that is so true. And curiosity is, I think if we ever, boy, I tell you what, if I ever get to the point where I'm not curious and interested in things, learning, finding out, talking to people, trying new things, boy, it's over. And really, truly, they say that the quality of your health and your overall life later in life, if you're not curious and living curiously and socially, you will decline a lot quicker, and you may not survive certain illnesses or injuries. So we're talking about longevity and vibrant living here. So that's a big one to look out into the future. But curiosity, one of the things that is in my new book is we did an entire appendix of questions. There were so many. I could have had thousands of pages of good questions. Coming up with good questions to ask. Okay, so how do we know what to ask? How do we know what's going to create a conversation? You just don't want to ask random questions where the person's answering and you don't care. That's not even a topic I want to talk about. So let's go back to authenticity. And if you go back to the intentional networker, my very first chapter is about knowing yourself. So most of us don't know ourselves very well. It's a great book by Tasha Eurich called Insight. And she says that around 90% of us have no clue. We don't know what we want. We don't know if we're an introvert or an extrovert. And I don't know how that's possible. I think it's because we're trying to fit into molds that people want to put us in. But I ask people, what do you want to be talking about? What are you interested in? What would you like to know about people? You're a podcaster, and have you ever been a journalist? Did you ever?
No.
Well, you are a journalist. Why aren't you a communicator? You're writing about people.
I guess, yeah.
I did have some
not
class.
a journalist by training or anything like that.
Okay.
No.
So back when I was in college, I had lots of writing classes, and I took a journalism class, and I did some writing for the school paper, and I learned about interviewing. And interviewing is all like coming up. A good story comes from good questions. So if you want a good story from somebody, ask them questions. And I don't mean being invasive and snoopy and getting in the middle of their business, but, ask people things like, what 3 books you have books on your nightstand? What are you reading right now? Or who is the teacher that influenced you the most? The one that you think about and are so grateful for at this stage in your life. When people can come up with, in fact, having a powwow to come up with questions, like, what's your favorite conversation question? That's a question in itself. So coming up with great questions. We did this thing the other night. We went to this party in San Antonio, and there were 3 people there we knew, plus the host and hostess. And so we were on our own to try to, get to know people. And so we just came up with interest. When I say we, I mean my boyfriend, Mark, and we came up with a question, like, let's go over to those people over there and let's ask them this question. And it became a quest. Like, this is our question for the night. We're going to ask everybody this question. This is great. So it's preparation. Authenticity is about knowing, what are you interested in? What do you need to be learning for your career to get better at what you do for your business, to keep life interesting? And then what was the other thing? Ease
and confidence.
I think ease, let's talk about that for just a minute. I think remembering that everybody in the room is mostly concerned about themselves, like, oh my gosh, how are people perceiving me? Do I look okay? Am I going to sound smart, or am I going to be impressive, or am I going to sound like a doofus, or what's it going to be? And if we go back to that assume positive before, just assume you're going to have a great time. And that takes a while to get there. I will say it's practice. And you can fake it till you make it, but just do that part, do that carefully. Don't come off as a super overconfident, braggadocious person who is just like, the annoying little brother that nobody wants to hang out with.
No, but I think I learned that from you, in that, hey, if you think about it, everyone's kind of on the same boat.
We are.
And once you get to learn more about them, you realize that they're no better than you.
Right.
And one thing that I like to think of, kind of a quick little hack, is I imagine that person is like a little toddler.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
They if I feel like I'm afraid to approach them or what, just like, okay, they're just like a little insecure toddler,
They are.
And
And I've had, I don't know about you, Ed, but I've had some really delightful conversations with people that I thought were going to be the most boring people in the room. That's my assumptions. That was me prejudging. I've had boring conversations with people that I thought, oh my gosh, there's so and so who's like the CEO of the company. And it turned out brilliant person, but not very good at conversation. And I've had some surprising conversations, especially talking about tactics, using the tactic of, if you're going into a social setting and whatever it is, professional or otherwise, there's always a person that's off standing by themselves. They're also feeling like, I don't know anybody here. I don't know what to say, or they just haven't found the right person. Go over and ask them a question. How are you doing? And like, who do you know here? What brought you to this event? Is this the first time you've been to one of these? Or am I the only one that doesn't know anybody here?
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that a great line?
Yeah.
That's my friend Julie Taraschuk, who sadly passed away last year. And plus she's British, so she said it in a British accent. Am I the only one who doesn't know anyone here? It always sounded so charming. And who would be able to resist introducing her to people?
Yeah. I love that.
It's technique. It's a lot of it's technique. And then confidence. Again, I think it's the more you do this, the better it gets. And honestly, I thought I knew everything about conversation, writing a book about conversation, which is my new book. How hard can it be? Well, 8 years later, and we edited it down from, I don't even know how many words we had, but it's going to be a 400 some page book, not a dense 400 some page book, but it'll be thick, but easy to go through, short chapters, sections, things you can go tactically, things you can do strategically. And I know we're going to get to talking about that in a minute, but yeah, I think that covers authenticity, ease, and confidence. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can share off the top of my head. I think practice is the more you do it, the better it gets. And you actually develop your social intelligence, which there's emotional intelligence, there's our IQ, how smart we are. There's our social intelligence, there is emotional intelligence. And unlike IQ, which is set, that's our emotional or intelligence quotient, these other ones are totally expandable.
Interesting.
And what social intelligence means is you begin to be aware of, hey, this worked, that didn't. You start doing this when you're a preschooler and you're introduced to other kids. Oh, that was fun. This wasn't. I like that kid because no matter what I suggest, he's open to doing it. And this follows you through the rest of your life, where you realize, wow, when I start talking about, my pets too much, people glaze over. When I start talking about my kids too much, people glaze over. Don't bring up this topic. It's just never goes anywhere good.
Yeah.
Or you can start noticing facial expressions like, I need to change the topic. This person's not into what I'm saying.
So let me ask you.
Different.
Yeah. And then you should be able to pick up on those cues. Trust yourself, right? It's like, I'm seeing this, but am I really seeing it? No, you're probably seeing it. You're probably right.
Seeing it. Yeah, probably.
I think one of the advantages that listeners of the show have that I don't think many of them realize it, is that most of my listeners are very, very curious people, because they're writers, they're journalists, they're avid readers, they're extremely curious. In fact, one of the biggest problems we have is like, we want to pursue every new idea, every opportunity. So I think instead of seeing that as maybe a disadvantage sometimes, see it in conversation.
Yeah.
As a great
exploring.
Quality.
I mean, I love the term exploring. I love the term possibilities. I love the great book called The Art of Possibility by Rosamund Stone Zander and her husband Ben Zander, and it's a
Oh yeah,
delightful book.
yeah.
It's just a fabulous book. And I just love the idea that, okay, try to find the balance between being purposeful,
Hmm.
have like, I'm going to go to this event because, not just out of obligation, but I'm going to go to this event because I want to make this happen, whatever your vision is. I need to have a good time. I need to meet some people. I have some issues. I need to meet some people who know some things I don't know that will help me solve a problem in my business, or I'm just bored and I want to meet some new people. But then let that go and be open to the possibilities, because I always think the magic is in the possibilities. If you know why you're going, you'll know when it's time to leave. Like, this is not happening. This is not panning out the way I want it. But if you open to the possibilities of, man, I might meet somebody it's totally out of the blue. Might meet my next new client doing
Hmm.
this. I might learn something where it's like, whoa, I was going to do this project. I was going to start offering this service. And now I realize, man, it goes nowhere. It's not profitable. It's too much work. It's probably not a good idea for me to be doing this. I don't have the bandwidth. You may get this flashing aha from somebody that you didn't even expect, but it's because you had that balance between purpose and possibility.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you said, look, be clear, but then set it aside. One of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I hear a lot of people, especially with networking events or industry events, is they set these ridiculous goals of, I'm going to walk away with 10 leads. It's like, you have no control over that. Number one.
Right.
Number two, that's
Yeah.
way too much pressure.
Yeah.
How about, look, I want to meet some interesting people
Mm-hmm.
and,
Yeah.
maybe start some relationships, the
Right.
beginning of some relationships that are good relationships, and
Yeah.
then just kind of let it go and be out there and be yourself.
Yeah. I mean, the person who wants to have X number of leads and wants to have X number of business cards and they're going to become the most obnoxious person in the room, because everyone else is going to look at them like, dude, chill.
Yeah.
Let's just be people here. I mean, honestly, and I tell people to do this, like when you're trying to figure out where your best business comes from, go back and analyze, what's the pedigree of your favorite clients? Where did you meet them? Where and how did you meet them? One of my favorite clients was somebody on my cycling team when I was cycling a few years ago. And I had no expectation that that was going to be a networking thing. But she called me at 9 o'clock one night and just said, oh my gosh, we have some budget money. We have to use it up by the end of the year. You'd be perfect. Can you do a thing for blah, blah, blah in 3 weeks? And it was like, yeah, I got something right now in the can, and I'll just, customize it a little and we're good to go. And it was fantastic. I didn't see that coming, but but that's how I run my life. I run my life as if everything is a possible networking. I want to use the word conversation and connection, as far as making friends and building my business. You can call it networking if you want to, but those conversations are everywhere. And by being a cool person that people like, you're more likely to get the business than the person who's just the super duper over the top go-getter that is just, wow,
Well,
maybe a
the
little too much.
distinction, the distinction that I heard there is you want to go in with curiosity and make connections and be open to the possibilities versus
Mhm.
I want to turn everything into a
Yes.
lead. I
Or
want
I'm
to
going to pass.
find the leads.
I went to this networking group. It was really more of a sales lead group, which I now know the difference between a
Uh-huh.
networking group and when I sat down at this table, this guy that apparently was a regular leaned across the table and he goes, look, if you're not here to bring me leads, don't come back next time.
Mm,
And
that's
I was like,
extreme.
wow, that was by far the worst. And I think everybody kind of, told me like, yeah, ignore him. He's just part of the scenery around here. But it goes back to that easy thing about people say over and over again, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And you
Mhm.
can't get there until you have conversations like, tell me about yourself. You seem really pleasant and nice and courteous and interested. You listen to what I have to say. I listen to what you have to say. And then trust is doing that repeatedly where they know they can count on you.
Tell me more. You just mentioned listening. I know you're really big on that. A lot of people feel like you got to have the gift of gab when really what you have to have is the gift of listening. Can you
Yeah.
speak to that a little bit?
Oh boy. I think the gift of gab definitely has its merits in that people who are comfortable talking to almost anybody. My dad was that way. When some of my best friends are that way. Some people say I'm that way. And I think that's great to be comfortable talking to anybody about anything. I think that's a wonderful trait. But if you're not in turn doing your share of the listening, then it's kind of gone out of control. And there's actually a rule about if you're in a one-on-one, socially or however, you should be listening 60% of the time and talking 40% of the time. And of course, the real geeky math people say, well, that's impossible. Both people can't be, doing that. It won't work if both people do that. Well, the point is, be the generous one. You be the generous one who is willing to listen more than they talk. And then if you're in a group, like let's say there's 4 people standing together having a beer, you divide the conversation pie. Each person gets 25% of the time to speak and has to listen 75% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that throws a lot of monkey wrenches into potentially some lively conversations where everybody's talking all at the same time. I mean, I've been in some of those, you probably have too. And, there's a liveliness to that. But if you are really wanting to be courteous and be known as a good conversationalist, you are spending a good share of your time listening. And that's how you know what questions to ask next. As a podcaster, you know this. You've done a brilliant job right here of saying, oh, I heard you say, and it spins off into the next piece.
Yeah. I think we're so worried about, myself included, what we're going to say next, that at some point you stop listening. But
yes. And it's really hard, in the speech that I'm writing, I'm telling them that you have to pause. And even if you have a thought that you want to interject, and we all have them because it's just expressive and natural to just want to talk. And when you have that thought, it's a discipline to hold that thought, let the person finish, and then try to still remember it, which is getting harder for me. Say, I'd like to go back, like you've done it several times. I'd like to go back to what you said. People think you're absolutely charming and brilliant, which you are at this. You're really good at this.
Well, I can take notes, right? So I made myself some notes, but in a conversation, I only have space in my brain for one note, right? So, but that's okay.
Exactly.
So tell me about, you've been working on your new book, More Than Just Talk, which is excellent, by the way. So I was lucky to have gotten a review copy from you.
Thank you.
I was really impressed by how practical it is, because I think these are topics that can easily be very boring because it can feel so abstract. You have so many examples. You share theory and strategies, but you quickly provide examples.
Yeah.
You've been working on this for how long now? I don't want to put you on the spot.
No. It's kind of a joke. Like, it got to the people like, don't ask Patti about her book anymore. Don't ask her. She's not ready. She's not finished yet. She's been working on it 8 or 9 years, I think. As soon as The Intentional Networker came out, and that's been out since 2011, if you can believe that. As soon as it came out, I started getting the questions. Yeah, this is great, but what about just getting conversations started? And how do you get away from the person that's talking too much? And I started collecting questions when I was speaking. And I've been working on it 8 years, and it's been fascinating. I learned so much that I actually use. Like we just had an engagement party for my son here with 50 people here at the house. And I was a little freaked out about it. There's a lot of people crammed in my house, but people stayed way past, and I was thrilled. I was fine with that. People stayed way past the 7 to 9 window. And people even said, oh my gosh, how can it be 10:30 or 11 already? We didn't mean to stay this long. But I was so complimented by that. It's like, we were having such a good time. Such great people. And this book has helped me. I think I always write the book that I need. So I'm just so excited to get it out into the world. I don't think the timing could be better. People need this information. And I'll also say, I read a lot of other books about conversation. There's some really fantastic ones out there, but a lot of them are written from an extrovert's point of view. And that's not me. No, there's a lot of people that need this book could be extroverts. How do I manage my extroversion? But there will be ambiverts and introverts and shy people too, who I think will get a lot out of this and feel, that ease and authenticity and confidence once they start practicing using some of these techniques. And, I tell a lot of stories too about things that have happened to me, and good and bad, and things I did well and things I screwed up. And, we tried to have fun with it and make it amusing, because people don't really like reading huge, dense books that are boring.
Yeah, this one reads well.
Thank you.
It's easy to read. And that's so cool that you've been able to learn yourself as you put it together.
I'm curious.
So I'm going to throw an interesting question at you. If you could somehow call your past self 10 years ago and you had some advice about this topic and you only had a few seconds, and you're not going to waste time proving to your past self that it's really you. Let's just assume that it was a given. What would you tell your past self?
I would have said that I would have hired the editor of this book, my good friend. We're fellow marketing communications writers. We've known each other more than 30 years. Our kids are the same age. I would have said, hire Susan right off the bat. Susan Pretty, that's her name. And I worked with 2 or 3 other book coaches and editors, and I didn't get the same enthusiasm. And I would say this to anybody of your people who are going to write a book at any time. If you're going to bring in any kind of partner or editor or book coach, whatever, they need to have the same enthusiasm for the topic and for how you want to try to cover the topic and share the topic as you do. They have to go, oh my gosh, that's the best idea. I mean, definitely, she pulled some things out like, yeah, let's not use this part. That's no. But she was so honest with me. But she's like, Patti, are you kidding me? This is fantastic. We got to do this. You got to keep going. And I have, oh my gosh, it's been totally worth it to have her on board to help sit in the smart chair. Let me do the research. Let me just explore and write. And she's the one that really came up with the format and how we could break things into little pieces. So work with the right person. I would also say, don't ever think you know everything about a topic. Whether it's your own business expertise or, emotional intelligence or travel or how to do this or that, always be learning, always.
What would you say to yourself about conversation, your past self, since you've learned so much?
Yeah, I've learned
over the
so
past
much.
10 years.
Well, I will say that it's been affirming to me that how I felt about it instinctively, and even in how I grew up. My dad was the local car dealer in a small town in Minnesota, and he was really gregarious, and my mom was very friendly and gracious, but a little more reserved. So I'm kind of a blend of them. I had really good role models on how to treat people and how to behave and how to be professional and how to keep learning. My parents were avid readers. They did interesting things. They had interesting friends. So I learned a lot there. But what I tell people is, honestly, conversations create a lot of the goodness in your life, personally and professionally. It's how you get clients. It's how you find the person of your dreams. It's how you solve problems. It's how you have fun and unwind and vent and share. We are wired to connect as humans, even if we're introverts. People who stay really loners are generally not happy people.
Mm-hmm.
There are some that are very content loners, but when you find the right people and have the right conversations, I think it just makes life really beautiful. So, I mean, I can't imagine not doing what I do. It's just enforced it.
Well, I see it and I hear it in your voice. So tell me more about where listeners can learn about your book. Where can they, and I believe you have a free chapter they can download.
Yes. If they go to PattiDeNucci.com, and that's spelled PATTI, D as in dog, EN as in Nancy, UCCI.com, or intentionalnetworker.com. They go to the same place. We should have a pop-up that will allow you to find and receive a free chapter of the book. And we've had a couple we've picked out. We might rotate different ones in and out to just give people different tastes of what the book's about. Chapters are short, but everyone has something in it that you can use. So that would be a great way to stay in touch. It will automatically, I'll be honest, it'll automatically put you into my blog subscription blog list. And I'll be doing a lot more of that. I'll probably be sharing things from the book forever. As long as I can type, I'll keep putting things out there.
I love it. We'll make sure to include that link in the show notes, but check it out, guys. Like I said, I've had the privilege of taking a look at it and it's fantastic. So
yes, thank you so much, Ed.
Definitely something we can all learn from. And I appreciate you sharing your wisdom. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And just a quick reminder to grab your free copy of my latest book, Earn More in Less Time: The Proven Mindset, Strategies, and Actions to Prosper as a Freelance Writer. You can get your free copy at b2blauncher.com, where you will also find the detailed show notes to this and all my other episodes. Enjoy and have a great day.